to another episode of House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated, MMQB. And yes, if it looks like I'm in a corner of a house, I am. I am right now in Oklahoma. So Gilbert, uh, the Rams suffer another tough loss. They had a chance to come back in this game, and then they miss on a fourth down play there and lose to the Packers 24-19. They fall to 1-4 now. Gilbert, just give me your takeaways from this game.
First thing, I am proud of myself because you know that StreamYard thing that they do with they don't tell you when you go live. It happened again, and I wasn't gonna kill your introduction, and then I went
Yep,
live 30 seconds into it, so I wasn't worried about you. I'm glad
yep.
that I caught myself. As for the Rams, they couldn't overcome some mistakes there. There were some improvements, but nobody wants to hear about a moral victory when they go into 1-4 into the bye week. You know, the defense played better. I thought they got some game changing plays like I kept telling them to do for the last 2 weeks. That pick six on Jordan Love. They had a kind of a last ditch effort to maybe steal the game, but Matthew Stafford had a turnover on down. So I thought they're going to get blown out by a very high scoring offense. The Packers still won. They still covered. But they kind of gave everything they could handle to the Packers. Jordan Love wasn't sharp. They were missing Romeo Dobbs. They were missing Christian Watson. But even with all that and being at home, the Rams being at home, they couldn't put away the Packers, or they couldn't rally to kind of get that comeback there. So yeah, it was just an ugly performance all around. But nobody wants to hear more victories. Nobody wants to hear about Jordan Whittington doing well. Nobody wants to hear about the defense getting a takeaway. I think I saw a stat from Sarah Barshop saying that that was her first defensive touchdown since 2022. That's a long ass time. But nobody cares. They're 1-4, and it's not looking good for the Rams.
Yeah, and it was, they started out slow again. One of the things I did like, Gilbert, if I'm being positive, and I know that nobody wants to hear about moral victories here, but I'll say this: they were 2 for 3 in the red zone. They finally ran the ball. They finally did the thing that we've been asking them to do, and they ran the ball when they got in the red zone. So 2 of 3, that's an improvement. But as you said, it's just it continues to go back to the same things that it's keeping this team from uh moving forward in terms of what they're doing. One of the things I saw with this team was, they give up that turnover that just turns the game around. And it just another interception by Matthew Stafford. It just, they went into the half feeling good. They were up, especially after that turnover that they caused, as you said, for the first time since 2022. And then you don't capitalize on it coming out of halftime, and that's just though you go 14-0, Gilbert. You lose that quarter 14-0, and by then it's just too much too many points to have to come back from. And it's just, if you're putting yourself in that situation, you're putting way too much on this offense that is already, with a bunch of injured players. So it's just tough sledding for this team right now.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, more positive stuff. Such a weird game because they did do some improvements. Even Kobe Turner, who I felt like I was like, asking for more, like do something. Kobe Turner is supposed to be your breakout game or breakout season, and he had a 2 sack game. But maybe it just goes back to those killer mistakes, the interceptions, and then your defense, the secondary. That thing we can't seem to get the Rams to figure out. Tucker Kraft had two very lengthy receptions for a touchdown. Jaden Reed had a couple. I think one of the first plays of the game, Jaden Reed down the field before they punched it in with Josh Jacobs. Tucker Kraft got loose. So it was like 3-4 plays where they gave up maybe 40 to 50 yards. And that's continues to be
All over the place. Yep.
keeps happening every single week. And
Mm.
in a game where like both offenses were struggling to kind of do something, those plays matter when you're able to score in a hurry. When you're able to capitalize on the takeaways, like you mentioned, Victor, 14 points there, 2 touchdowns for Tucker Kraft, and that team was hurting too. They didn't have some of their best players, and you could tell they were a little short-handed there. But yeah, when you got Jaden Reed going down the field early on, you got Tucker Kraft doing something. Josh Jacobs was able to kind of close out the game a little bit towards the end of the second half there. But when everything after you kind of summarize the entire game, you look at the record. It's 1-4. They're in the bye week. Even Kyron Williams had a good game, like you mentioned. They're running the football. None of that matters. But the one real positive we could actually maybe harp on, Victor, to
Mhm.
go off of Shap's comment, NFC North better than the NFC West. The 49ers lost today because the Cardinals and 49ers are both 2-3, and the Seahawks lost today, 2-game losing streak for those Seahawks. So I thought they're a little fraudy to start off 3-0. They lost to the Giants. So 3-2 is the first place team. You can easily make up ground with a 2 or 3 game winning streak in this division.
Yeah, and then you have the Seahawks and the 49ers play on Thursday night football. So there's even someone's going to be 3 and 4 there. So I mean, you have an opportunity here. I mean, like I said, we talked about this. This division is not going away. Everything's going to come back to you. You just got to get into the bye week, get healthy, and then go from there. And then going back to Kyron Williams, I wanted to bring that up. That fumble turned everything around. I was that was one of my main issues with this game. The two turnovers just cost them. They cost them points. You can't fumble the ball. And then the other thing, Gilbert, the Rams were in Packers territory for most of the game, and it just seemed like they just left the window open for the Packers, and they took advantage in that third quarter, as you mentioned, with that 14-0 quarter. And like I said, when you need the Rams to be perfect to win games, that just tells you that they're not in a good situation right now. And maybe as we talked about too, having this buy, it comes at a good opportunity. I just listened to McVay, and he sounded really frustrated, and rightfully so. But I think it's on him right now. He's gotta make the adjustments, and just try to coach his butt off, because nobody cares. Nobody in the NFL, like, nobody expected the Vikings to be 5-0 right now, and nobody expected the Rams to be 1-4 at the same time. And so, as I said, nobody cares. Nobody's going to cry for the Rams right now, but you got to make the adjustments, and you got to play better after the bye week.
Yeah, I don't want to look too far ahead, but anybody who's talking about waving the white flag, which is, I get the conversation. I'm not gonna get annoyed with people doing it, but it feels a little premature because you got to get your team intact, fully together with Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, which happens after the bye week, and then looking at the standings, like things could definitely change there. Say maybe they're kind of far away in the wild card, but when you have a crappy division, sometimes that keeps you
Yeah.
hanging in December. But I'm not saying it's gonna be a crappy division the whole time. Maybe the 49ers figure it out. Maybe the Seahawks kind of benefit from an easy schedule, which they couldn't have. They couldn't do it this week. Maybe the Cardinals are not for real. I keep trying to make them for real, but they won today, so I don't know what the hell to believe with them. But yeah, you go into the bye week, you come out with a 2-game homestand, one being winnable against the Las Vegas Raiders, one looking very difficult, which I did not expect with the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. But if you go 2-0 there, things are looking right. But yeah, I don't want to be too optimistic after a very ugly performance there. And yeah, it feels like people want to give maybe a more victory there. I don't want to do it because they are 1-4 overall. There was improvements in many areas, but sometimes these things snowball when you can't get a couple of victories, getting them stacked up there. And I'm guessing it's been a long time since Sean McVay's been 1-4. I can't remember the last time. I don't even think 2022 was this bad.
No, and as we talked about, they did the same thing last season. They lost to the Packers, and then they took off, and then they had a bye as well, Gilbert. So maybe it that's one of those things where you talked about during our preview that it's kind of deja vu for the Rams, except it's happening to them earlier in the season, and so you have a lot of season left where you can correct a lot of these things. It's just hard to see where they do it, and I remember, you weren't that positive about them turning things around at 3-6 last season. I honestly don't see the positives here, Gilbert. It's hard to see it. Last season it was, you had Kyron Williams. He finally came back, and they went through. Maybe getting Cooper Cup back is going to help things, but we don't know what's going to happen with Puka. We don't know when those two offensive linemen are going to come back, and the offensive line is not the problem. They're able to push the Packers defensive line, and so you're just like I said, you're just trying to find where we can say, okay, they're gonna take off from here after this bye. It's just hard to see it right now, Gilbert.
Yeah, and I lean towards what you're feeling compared to last year, because the one thing they just can't fix is the explosive plays. And say that never gets fixed, and you find yourself in shootouts constantly because your secondary can't keep the players in front of them, and they're getting 14 points right away. Things like that. So like when you're in these kind of, sometimes low scoring games, they're a little sluggish, or they're a little whoever kind of hangs on at the end will find the victory. But when you're letting up, yards and bunches and scoring drives like that, I just don't see how they figure that out, because I think today they benched Tre'Davious White, they got Darius Williams back, they're trying to move around Kobe Durant, uh, and that hasn't worked. So that's the one glaring hole that I don't see any hope for the secondary. Maybe when they face the Raiders, things get better. But Brock Bowers might shred them. Like today, Tucker Kraft did it. So obviously, the Vikings have a bunch of weapons. Each team in the NFL has weapons, unless you're playing, I don't know, the New England Patriots, maybe. But they all have weapons. You can't get a stop there. That's going to hurt you. But it does help when you get a pick six. It does help when you have consistent pressure, like they did with Kobe Turner. I see one of the comments on Daniel Calderon. It does not help when you have, kind of, below average linebackers. I don't want to be critical and say something else, but they're not good linebackers. That after the front four or five guys, whatever rotation you have defensively on the defensive line, the linebacker secondary is just bad. And if you can't improve that or make something in the trade deadline, you're going to be constantly in a bunch of shootout games. And when you play in shootouts and you kind of have these games that come down to the wire, anything can happen. We saw today with the Bengals, who were in a shootout, but their defense can't get a stop, and then the Ravens stole that game. So, big picture, and to go off of what you're saying, Victor, it does feel worse than last year because that defense is not doing anything, even though they're getting consistent push up front. Yeah, if you get yourself in a shootout, you're asking for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's just tough to see where, especially when you lose those linebackers, as Daniel says, if we come back with this same linebackers after the bye week, the season is over. It's just tough to see it, and this is where the coaching staff's going to earn their money. They need to go, and we've seen this happen with teams where they go on a run. You just need to be more creative. Trading for somebody isn't going to help you right now. You have what you have right now, and you got to roll with that. And like I said, it's on the coaching staff right now. That's why they're getting paid, and they need to earn their money. All right, Gilbert, let's get to some of these comments before I
Yep.
get your final thoughts, and we put the final stamp on this game. All right, Delbert Salgado says varsity comes back after the bye, run the division. What me worry, Chale. So hey, Delbert's still positive. He still has faith. All right, next one is from Daniel says 1-4. Let that sink. Worried that this will be Stafford's last year. We'll see. I mean, he's still playing pretty good. He hasn't been able to get over 300 yards, I think, since the first game. So it's been tough sledding for him. He doesn't have two of his top weapons, but he's doing the best he can out there. NATO 2 says, I'm putting the blame on everybody. So, hey,
Okay.
people, we got DJ Fono. He's out. What's up, fellas? What an upset. Now I'm heading to Dodger Stadium. Hopefully they win. Hey,
Look
he's
at
doing the
that.
double header. Hopefully he gets there on time. We'll
Yeah.
see. Let us know how long it took you to get into Dodger Stadium, DJ Fono. I'm sure it's not going to be it's going to take a while for you to go from SoFi to Dodger Stadium. Daniel Calderon, this was a must win. What do you think about that? Was this a must win?
Again, I don't think so, because I keep going back to the bye week, players coming back healthy, and the division not being as good as we maybe would have thought earlier in the season. So, you know, must win feels like, okay, if you lose, you're done for the season, and
Yeah,
we haven't got to that point. You know, even last year when they lost to the Packers before the bye week, I called their rock bottom, and they were able to pick themselves up. Maybe you could call this rock bottom if you want, Daniel. I think I'm with you with that, because you come out of the bye, you lose to the Raiders at home, and you're 1-5. I will put a fork in them. So that will be a must win. This one is like the last strike before you get to the bottom.
yeah, and then Daniel, same thing. Our run defense is horrible. I think Shula was a bad hire.
Mhm.
His first season. He's gonna go through it, but as we said, why would you want to go through that as your first game? Uh, we already shared that one. Um, Willie Bowen says, "I'm mad as hell. LA Rams should have won this game." So even Willie, we've seen Willie be super positive. He's pissed right now too, and he
Hey,
agrees with that on all his takes there. Mike the Knight says, "We gave away this game," and then he says, Do we get all of our Daniel Calderon? Do we get all of our offensive line back after the bye week?"
I don't know, but it'll be good. Say you get Jonah Jackson, Alaric Jackson, Steve Avila, you know Havenstein. Who else am I forgetting about? Kevin Dotson. All five. That'd be great. I'm not sure. I haven't done a checkup, but usually after a bye week, that's when you start asking questions like that. Hey, I think maybe Avila went on IR. He might have. This might have been. He might have one more game. I can't remember on him because he probably went on IR the
They're
second week.
probably Avila's probably not coming back for a while,
Yeah.
and then Jonah Jackson. I think I haven't heard anything, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think
which
the only
might not
one,
be good.
yeah, the only one that might be back is Cooper Cup, just because he
Yeah.
didn't go on IR. Gilbert.
Yeah, and real quick, Mike, I don't think we've seen your name here on House of Horns. If you're new, shout out to you. You've been following us quietly, even better. We appreciate that, Mike. I know it's a rough game for the Rams here, but hopefully you stick with us here. If you're new, subscribe and like. But we're gonna break down. I think I see another name. You could show that one up here in Travis Richards. So that's pretty cool after a loss.
Yeah,
Uh,
Travis Richards says, "What's wrong with the Rams this year? In my opinion, is the secondary is being a problem, and
oh
the
yeah.
injuries of Cup and Puka."
Yeah, it definitely is. Welcome, Travis. I know it's not on good terms here for the LA Rams. Maybe you've been watching also like Mike quietly. We appreciate that too. Don't be shy. Everybody else get in the comments there. If you're frustrated, express them here and we'll try to break them down. I just saw Victor. It's a weather delay on Sunday Night Football, so I got a little more time here
Awesome.
to break down this game here. But yeah, it's just it was a strange game where going back to I think it was it Willie saying, or somebody was saying they could have stolen this game. And yeah, even though you didn't have your best wide receivers, they were right there. And that final drive, turnover on downs, maybe we got to examine that drive and see what happens. But on a day where, Kyler Murray and James Conner and Marvin Harrison Jr., pulled off a pivotal drive to steal that game in San Francisco, why couldn't the Rams do it? Ravens coming back when they're falling behind. Why couldn't the Rams do it? So all throughout the NFL, it's just kind of these games just swing very quickly. Momentum changes very fast, and maybe that could be something that we're overlooking. This team just is not able to win those games when they get close. Because look at Week 1 in Detroit, overtime. There were so many opportunities to steal that game, they couldn't do it. The Cardinals game was a blowout. They won the 49ers game there. And what was last week? The Bears also opportunities there. It was ugly, but they have opportunities. So maybe that's something they need to look at after the bye week.
Yeah, and I mean, you almost lose by almost the exact same score that you did against the Bears. Last week it was 24-18. This week is 24-19. Also, you got to find a way to score points, Gilbert. You can't give up away possessions. You can't turn the ball over. It was great seeing them get a turnover finally, as you talked about earlier in the show. But you have to keep doing that. You have to create turnovers, as we said. And it's just been it's been a slow process for this defense, and everybody's seen it, like with Ram fans. I mean, they know what the problem is. We don't have to tell you guys. I mean, Daniel Calderon says our tackling and keeping the edge has been horrible. Yeah, teams are just running on them, Gilbert, not just through the middle, but they're getting tosses out on the run there, and it's been hard for them to keep the edge there. James Wheelock, it says, "I'm bitter drinking at a bar." Good to see that. Good to have you, James. Make sure you get home safely, please. Willie Bowen says LA Rams need to have a two running back attack in the backfield with Stafford.
Mm.
And off of that, Gilbert, Blake Corum, we saw a sign for him, 5 carries for 25 yards. So it's good that they got him into this game, and hopefully we get to see more of him going forward.
Yeah, when I saw him picking up, I think a crucial first down early in the game, 12. I think it was like a 12-yard run. I'm like, oh, finally! And then you look up, only 5 carries, but it's more than before. So it's a progress there. And yeah, you would think they would have done that earlier with all the injuries there, but I know the offensive line not being intact. It's tough to kind of generate a lot of rushing yards. But Kyron Williams is still doing what he's doing. But like you mentioned, Victor, you can't have a fumble. And one thing I just looked up on the stat sheet that might hurt Rams fans. The Packers were only 1-8 on third down.
Oh
So
yeah.
that tells you that they were getting all these yards from these big chunk plays there, not from long drives. And I think the Rams also won the time possession. So that
Yeah, and there
goes back to the defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say on when they forced that punt late in the game, Darius Williams was on that PBU. I mean, he made an impact in this game, and I get it. Outside of when you see that the Tucker Craft ones are on the linebackers. That just goes back to the linebackers and the linebacker play not being really good on this team. And so yes, I think that's part of the problem. But having Darius Williams back was a big
Yeah.
it helped a lot and it helped with those going one of eight on third down. Let me continue on with these comments. Facts, not fiction. Facts, not fiction. Sorry, Ram fans. Remember, we are the second youngest team, and almost half the starters are on injury reserve. Yeah, and they got a bunch of undrafted players on this team, so that is true. I mean, it is a young player. It is a bunch of young players. No Aaron Donald. So that also goes with it. James Wheelock says poor play calling, 2nd and 5, and you should have run on that last drive.
Yeah, that's definitely something there. It was a weird drive, a lot of going back and forth, some flags here and there, and they couldn't capitalize. And yeah, it kind of goes back. I know McVay did a little better with running the football, but it goes back
Yeah,
to us and also being in the red zone, the stats that you mentioned, Victor. But things like that, that's where McVay has to be a little better in orchestrating a game-winning drive. You had it right there. You're at home. Your defense stepped up with a couple stops there, and you couldn't get anything going. I get that they're shorthanded. And going to Mike's comment, I think Whittington got hurt on that last drive there too. So, not getting that victory, not getting that final drive really stung in multiple ways.
yeah, and it goes back to that too. I mean, you can't seem to keep guys healthy, especially your receiving core, especially with what we were seeing from Whittington. Him getting hurt on that last play really hurts this team. Luckily, they have a bye and they can get some guys healthy. Travis Richards says, with the Rams having a lot of rookies, the Rams could have a better season next year with no such injuries, and this year's rookie develop and getting experience. So there's also that. I mean, that's staying positive there, but I think people want to see results this season. Yes, it looks good for going down the road. You need to get some of these guys healthy and getting some playing time. We got Mike Dynamite says, yes, I've been
Hey,
following. Keep it up. So, hey,
thank
good,
you.
good to have you on here. Willie Bowen says the LA Rams should use more of a tight ends involved on the offensive plays. I thought they did a good job in this game with 86. I thought he did a good job. He Stafford missed him on a couple of plays there here and there, but that wasn't on the tight end. That was more on him. Covington, Kobe, no, what's his name?
Parkinson.
Kobe
Parkinson.
Parkinson. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got 7 catches, 52 yards. Hunter Long even got a couple of
Yes, Hunter
catches.
Long was good out there as well as Daniel Carlson said. Parkinson's got to be more aggressive. So, yeah,
Yeah, if it's again, it's such a weird game with a lot of positives because a lot of more guys stepped up here, which you need when you got your 2 best receivers out. But let me count here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players or 8 players logged a reception, and 9 got targeted. Davis Allen didn't do much; he got 1
no,
target. So another tight end right there. So I guess they're trying to get more tight ends involved. Even seeing Xavier Smith getting some run there too. So they're going deep into the wide receivers. Even the 2 running backs, Blake Corum got 1 catch for 8 yards. I know it's not enough there, but they could have easily stolen this game. They couldn't do it. So it just tells you, and it's the NFL. These games that you don't steal or you don't have momentum go your way, and the margin of points are so small that you could easily be 4-1 right now, or I guess don't count the Arizona game, but yeah, you could maybe be 3-2 or something like that. So and we'll see what they do when they come back from the bye week.
yeah. And I was just gonna say, I started thinking about it when you started saying that. I was like, I think they're 1-4 in one score games if you really look at it. I mean, you lose to the Lions on one score,
Mhm.
you lose you get actually then they're 1-3
They won
in
3.
one score games because they got blown out by the Cardinals. So yeah, like you just got to be better in those one score games, and we see it. I mean, we see what were the Chargers last season, like 1-8 or 0-8 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like winning those close games is going to help. Look at the Vikings. That's part of the reason why they're 5-0. They know how to win those close games, and when you don't have that winning formula, in close games, it's going to affect you the rest of the season.
Yeah, and they don't have an identity. Like you bringing up the Vikings, like maybe it's not sustainable, but they keep going off of double-digit leads because today the Vikings started out 17-0. Last week was 28-0. Like that's their recipe. Get double-digit leads to make Sam Darnold be comfortable and have your defense like just frustrate the crap out of opposing
Mhm.
quarterbacks. What do the Rams do? Like I can't figure it out. You know what's your bread and butter? Like all we know is you're consistent at letting up explosive plays. You can't find the rhythm for the running back committee. Well, Kyron Williams seems to be your one consistent player as a touchdown maker. But other than that, offensively, it kind of these games just kind of seem to be okay. What happened today? What was random about today? What did they improve? What was worse this week? And they don't have something to kind of hang their hat on. And maybe that could be something where they're going to look at during the bye week. But again, it's hard to have some kind of identity or some routine or rhythm with all these injuries. But no one's gonna feel sorry for yourself so for what you're doing, and that's something where you look at all the teams that are winning right now. They kind of have something that they go off of. Like the Ravens are easy. They know how to run the football pretty well. What's another? The Chiefs just know how to win close games. Like that's definitely their identity. Like things that maybe sound like a reach, and like sometimes that's an identity. Sometimes that's what you kind of go off when you win games here. And the Rams, I guess their identity right now is bad defense and losing one score games.
Yeah, and we're what 5 weeks into the season now. You should know what your identity is now. Like as we talked about, the first month is usually your preseason because you don't play any of your guys during the preseason. Nobody does. It's not just the Rams, and you would expect them to have an identity by now. Maybe coming off the bye, they can get back to running the ball. I mean, I thought they they've been successful running the ball. You had Kyron Williams go for 102 yards in this game. So that's good. You had Blake Corum go for 5 carries for 25 yards. So they're starting to, develop into a running team. And so that's good because as we talked about, unfortunately, their two top receivers are out with an injury.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, you're getting to that point where like nobody cares about your injuries, nobody cares about who you're playing, nobody cares about being close, nobody cares about more victories. But a lot of soul searching in this bye week, but there are positives, like we mentioned at the top of the show, is the 2 game homestand and kind of a so-so division so far. But at some point, you would think maybe like the 49ers will wake up, or maybe the Seahawks are able to kind of get up maybe another 3 game winning streak to kind of get some comfortable lead, or maybe the Cardinals use today as a stepping stone to get momentum. So you can't just keep looking at the standings like, oh, we're only 2 games behind or only one. Eventually, you got to win some of these games.
Yeah, you just got to worry about yourself and just take one. It's a cliche, but you got to take it 1 week at a time and go 1-0 that week and then worry about the rest. Towards the end of the season. I just want to get to these comments before we head out, Gilbert. We have Daniel Calderon says, "Hope we can keep Stafford." James Wheelock says, great, they came back but need to finish, but maybe we will rally like last year. Willie Bowen says LA Rams defense doesn't need a Matador type of tackling and hitting. And then
Mm,
our friend Alonso Takanga, who's a 49er friend, he says he's done. So
mm.
and
Two and
nobody's
three.
happy, I think, around LA. Like the Chargers are 2-2, they're on a bye, but people aren't happy there. You and the 49er fans are not happy, and nobody's happy, it seems like, if you're outside of Kansas City and Minnesota, who haven't lost a game this season.
I wonder who's the best team on the West Coast right now. I guess maybe do you count the Broncos as West Coast? They're 3-2,
No,
but they
they're
lost.
in the mountain. Yeah, I wouldn't say they would.
I
I
don't
don't.
think the Seahawks are any good, but they're
Yeah,
3-2 right now. So yeah, the West Coast teams are not doing too well. You could
yeah,
count the Raiders too, but they are 2-3 if you want.
yeah,
Consider
no.
them the desert.
Yeah, it looks like the whole West Coast is just dropping the ball right now. It's like, will the real best team in the West Coast please stand up,
Yeah,
because
making
nobody
the whole region Pacific
is.
time zone look terrible. Come on, teams.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Arizona, but they're 2-3.
They're 2-3. Yeah.
Everybody is. But Gilbert, I'm glad I was able to do this post game show. I am in Oklahoma. I'm heading back to LA. I'm taking advantage of the bye week myself. So um I we won't have a preview show because they're on a bye. There's not much to talk about on Wednesday, but we will be back to preview the game against the Raiders next the following Wednesday. So that'll be the next time we talk to you guys. If you guys have any questions, you can always hit up our emails. You're at Gilberto at Compass on the Beat. I am at Victor at Compass on the Beat. So please go ahead and let us know. I can put a post, and if you guys have any on our YouTube community page, and if you guys have any questions, you guys can send the questions there as well. We can do a mailbag, but as always, you guys know where you can find us, and give us a shout out, and we'll talk to you. Before we go to Gilbert, I wanted to just reach out and say give a special shout out to I Like My Pod, who is from the Packers point of view. They shouted us out. They really liked the content that we did this previewing the matchup between the Packers and the Rams. And so that's really cool when you have other podcasts actually saying that you guys are really good analysts and you give good insights. So that made my weekend, like getting out here to Oklahoma. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. And if you can go ahead and follow them, they do really good work. They cover the Packers, but they talk about pots that they like as they get ready for that matchup, whoever they're playing. So I just wanted to talk about that, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, we pride ourselves on having a full discussion on both sides. I know a lot of people want to hear about the team that they root for, but sometimes it's good to hear about the other side and what's about to come or what that team is going to face throughout the week. So, yeah, breaking down the Packers, breaking down the Rams, and to hear that people are liking that from the Packers kind of point of view, that's good. And I'm sure they're probably learning a lot about the Rams too from our coverage. So that's why. We keep going. Sometimes it's tough to squeeze in a podcast. Maybe it's a little late. We got things to deal with in our respective lives here. But this is why it's worth it. And then again, seeing all the familiar names and the names that I don't recognize keep me going doing this House of Horns podcast. And then people from the outside saying, "Hey, we like what you did." Maybe they only watch it for a week, but at least we made it worth your time for a week. But always up for gaining more subscribers and building a community here. And we'll see how things go for the rest of the season. But like Victor has mentioned, we signed up for all 17 games. Even if it gets ugly, we will be here making a podcast for about the LA Rams of 2024.
Yeah, and then one thing they did say is that we were a little too negative about the Rams, so maybe we need to be a little positive. But we try
They're
to
one
be
and four. I think we
yes,
were right.
yes, and a lot of the fans agree. I mean, there's not a lot of things to be positive about, but we try to find those nuggets when we can be positive. We're not total homers here, so and we pride on that. We take pride in giving you guys, a fair and balanced thought in our insights when it comes to the Rams. But Gilbert, I don't know how much longer we have in terms of before Sunday night game starts, but yeah, we got more time than we usually do, and especially heading into a bye week. But yeah, let's get to I guess this bye week and enjoy the bye week, and then come back strong and get ready to preview the Raiders and Rams game.
Yeah, the only thing I root for is the picks that I make throughout the week, and I got this one right here. Sorry, Rams fan, I picked the Packers. I think I'm like 4-1 on the season. The only one I got wrong was the 49ers game. So
No, it
yes,
was the Bears.
did I
The
pick?
Bears. You picked the Rams in that game. So
No, I
you're
didn't. I did it.
yes,
No.
yes.
Okay,
We
okay.
both
So
picked them. We both
so
picked
maybe I
them.
am 3-2. Yeah, you're right. I did
Yeah,
pick the Bears. I don't remember the 49ers one. Did I?
oh,
Yeah.
I picked the 49ers. You picked
So we're
I mean
even, three and
I
two.
picked I yeah, I picked the Rams in that game, and then you picked the 49ers in that game.
Okay, so then we're probably
So
even, 3 and 2.
I think I'm like 1-4, to be honest. I'm like writing the same record as the Rams.
Well, we got to write that down, but I
Yes.
was right today, and yeah, but the NFL is so unpredictable. You never know. If they would have pulled it off today, I would have been like, crap, well, I got it wrong. But I'm not surprised here.
Yeah.
Again, it's close. I even got some of I care about my sports bets too, and I got that one right today. But the Rams I should know a little more because we follow them very closely. But uh, yes, there's a lot of negatives there, but there are some positives, like I mentioned, and we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to say the Rams are totally done, like Alonso's feeling about the 49ers, but very, very small hope. And we'll discuss it when we get back from the bye week. But I am ready to go,
Yes.
Victor.
let's go ahead and close this out. Another frustrating loss for the Rams. They fall 24-19. They are now 1-4 as they head into the bye week, Gilbert. But there's got to be better days ahead for this Rams team. Hopefully, they can get healthy and enjoy that bye week. And then we'll talk to everybody, as you said, when we come back from the bye week as they take on the Raiders at SoFi.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Enjoy the Dodger game if you're watching that. Enjoy Sunday Night Football if you're watching that, or you're watching both, or you're having a good time in Oklahoma like Victor is. Have a good evening here. Let's move on to the bye week. But on that note, ya nos vamos, pues vámonos.